Hello, Prince, and welcome to the Decoded podcast. It's lovely to have you over here. And it's like a lot of times I have done uh, uh, recordings with like previous colleagues and people I know, but it's not always that I get an opportunity to record a podcast episode with a good friend. And this is twice the amount of joy for me to have you on the show. So once again, huge welcome and thank you for accepting the invite.
Thank you, Rahul. And I'm equally excited. Just that your audience knows we were ex-colleagues turned into friends, and also, there's a larger story which we'll speak as the podcast moves on. But thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you. And you know, one of the big reasons why you are here is not just because of some of the recent achievements, but I think in our discussion also it was coming alive that there is this beautiful journey that you've had, uh, which is now taken the shape of Metashot. But throughout this whole journey from start to finish to where you are currently, I think there is also something interesting which has happened is that you've had this experience of building a physical product, and then you've had this experience of turning that physical product into a hardware plus a software product. And uh, a lot of people who try to get into the startup world, they they want to do that, but somehow it's like the moment it comes to a physical or a hardware product, there is always that apprehension. So a lot of people stop themselves from taking that step, and you've not only taken that step, but you've taken multiple steps, and you're way further in the journey. So that is going to be the focus of our conversation today. But before we dive into the topic, how about we start with a very quick, introduction? Just give us a quick snapshot of your journey before we dive into the topic.
So, thanks, Rahul. And rightly said, hardware journey is tough. And when you try to combine hardware and software, it's even tougher. We've been lucky that, we've reached this far. So I started my journey from Madhya Pradesh. I was raised in MP till my 10th. I did schooling in Hyderabad after my 10th, 11th and 12th was in Hyderabad. I did my
Hmm.
engineering in Pune Electronics and then MBA in marketing before I moved into advertising. And that's where I spent close to three to 4 years, and
Yeah.
we met in Ogilvy while I
Yeah.
was in advertising. And post that, I had a short stint on the startup side. I mean, I founded a company, got some angel investment, but that had a different journey altogether, and I had to wind that up and move to Bangalore on the marketing side. Like we all aim for to become the client, right? I mean, so I became the client in 2015, and
Yeah.
I was in my previous organization for close to 7 years before I moved on to start a company called GR8, which was into physical cricket bats.
Right.
And the difference was that we were making gully cricket bats,
Hmm.
and branding gully cricket bats. But COVID
Hmm.
came and things turned, and we moved to this metaphysical kind of cricket bat, which is basically the bat and a smart bat and a game, and
Hmm.
interaction between the physical and the virtual, space. So that
Hmm.
has been the journey. So all of those points are important because at the end I was able to combine my love for cricket, electronics, engineering, whatever little I learned there, and my marketing skills to reach this place, which is Metashot. This journey, which is
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. That's like a fabulous journey. So I can't wait for you to go deep into, all these different plot points in your journey, and to try and help extract lessons for, all the viewers, especially someone who wants to feel inspired from you, and take that inspiration, use that inspiration for the purpose of maybe developing a physical product or a hardware product for themselves. So with that intent, let's rewind and go to the start of GR8. Like, what was happening at that point in time? How did the whole thing come about from absolute nothing? What really went on during that time?
Like I said, no, I always loved playing cricket. In fact, one of the reasons I was sent to a boarding school in 11th, 12th was because I was playing so much cricket in my hometown. My parents thought that, this guy will probably, screw his life by not, studying and spending all his time whiling away on cricket fields and, going
Yeah.
from tournament to tournament. And,
Hmm.
it was not, actually, it was not leading to a career in cricket. It was largely a lot of recreational cricket, and I believe I was playing well. Uh, so I was deeply involved in that, and my parents felt that I needed to move out of the city to see a new perspective, and that's when I
Yeah.
moved to Hyderabad, and all that happened. So, anyways, coming back to 2021, 2020, sorry, 2019, while I had joined my new place, right, the new, like I said, I was on the client side. What happened is we used to play a lot of cricket over the weekends.
Hmm.
We had different teams in the organization that would compete against each other, and we would go to any of the nearby grounds, book the whole ground, play there. And while we were doing that, I noticed that there is a like, if you look at a typical kit of a gully cricketer, there are 7 to 8 bats, and
Yeah.
all of those bats would at that point in time were largely unbranded. They would have your usual stickers which a international cricketer will carry, but the base bat itself was a unbranded bat, which in India we call as patia. So
Yeah.
patia bat with the sticker on it, and
Yeah.
technically it did nothing. So, and the price point was not cheap as well. It was like fairly decently priced. So
Yeah.
looking at that, we saw an opportunity that, what if we could brand this space? What if we could
Hmm.
make, like someone who goes to play gully cricket, much like me and my friends. We are people who, otherwise are busy with our lives. Only Saturdays and Sundays is when we get time to play. And
Yeah.
if we have a gear which is an extension of our personality, it would be very cool, right? And
Hmm.
at that point we had money to kind of buy such gadgets, so such products. So we thought, what if we could play on that aspect and make a bat which looks very different from what is out there in the market. And we
Right.
started this bat which was painted black, and that
Hmm.
was the first bat in India that was in a branded space that was painted black. So that
Hmm.
itself made the whole product stand out on the ground. And like we always say, there is validation, right? We need to test some of these ideas. So
Yeah.
we validated this concept. We took first couple of bats, the painted bats, into the ground. We saw that those bats stood out from really far as well, and people would generally come and curiously look at the bat, seeing, Acha, what is this interesting looking item, right? So
Yeah.
that gave us confidence that, Acha, if we put out something like this, this
Yeah.
may work out really well. And then I collaborated with some of my friends in advertising. They made some really cool looking stickers. The idea was, don't reference any of the existing cricket stickers, just make a new
Hmm.
category. Get inspiration from, let's say, a
Hmm.
Ferrari car. Get inspiration from, some other form of art or some
Yeah.
other field altogether, and get that inspiration on the sticker. Move that onto the sticker.
Hmm.
And that worked out really well. And when we put out the first one or two bats in the market, within the first month of our launch, which was in April 2019, it became a bestseller on both Amazon and Flipkart.
Nice. Nice.
And this
Okay.
journey, I had, my other partners as well, Ranjit and Ajit, who are also with
Yeah.
me at Metashot, and a fourth partner, Mohit. So the four of
Hmm.
us were, largely looking at it as a hobby project. and things got serious. In the first year, we sold close to 1.2 crore in INR value,
Yeah.
and we felt that there is something interesting that we can
Mm,
build here.
mm,
That was
mm,
the
mm.
genesis of GR8 basically.
Nice, nice. Okay, so there are lots of multiple small plot points. So unpack it a little more for us. So for example, in the very beginning, right? Uh, like product testing, the way we've done it as marketeers is that we would typically have a bunch of variables, and we would try and understand which out of these variables appeals the most to our audience. So the question I have is that when you noticed that these are unbranded, cricket bats, and branded bats don't exist, uh, from there to finally decided on the looks, a standout look for the bat, which kind of acts as an extension of your personality. How did you go from there? Did you have multiple thoughts about, should we make a bat which hits the best shots, or which is probably the most durable, or which is something X or Y or Z, right? So what were the thoughts that you were considering, and why did you arrive on what you arrived at?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the key thing was, we felt form and functionality, there isn't much to experiment on, because the same guy who supplies to, let's say, a larger player like SGSS would also supply to an unbranded player. So
Right.
the supply of a finished product or the wood or whatever, it's the same across players. So form and
Hmm.
functionality wise, there isn't much. You can't make the bat into, let's say, a very weird looking, like a diamond shaped thing, or into a
Yeah.
baseballish kind of, there isn't much scope there.
Yeah.
So the aspect that we picked on was, the style factor,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
how can that reflect the personality of the person who is playing with that bat.
Got it.
And we felt like it'll be really cool to have these bats which make you stand out. Like five people come and ask you, Ki, Arey, where did you get this bat from? What is it
Yeah.
made of? Out of curiosity, because that is a bragging point for you, right?
Yeah.
So that is the angle that we wanted to play with. And
Very
when
nice.
we tested also, moment we took it to the ground, a lot of people came and just picked up the bat, just curious to know, hey, what is this? Where do you get this? A lot of questions started coming in, and that was a
Hmm.
short proof point that if we
Hmm.
put out something like this, it could work. So for
Hmm.
us, the variable was very clear. We'll play on the overall looks of it, like aesthetics
Nice.
of it. And
Nice.
with that clear plan, we started making the bats.
Wonderful.
And in
Wonderful.
all of this, we didn't compromise on some commonsensical things about form factor,
Yeah.
about the shape, the quality of the wood, because
Yeah.
you cannot make a rubbish bat at the end of the
Yeah.
day, right? So
Correct.
we made sure that we are following all the basics. In fact, we went one step ahead. We got someone who is still considered as one of the best players of tennis cricket. He
Right.
It's his profession. Like, he plays that the entire season, makes money out of it, and he's
Yeah.
considered the Sachin of tennis cricket. So we spoke to him.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
understood what goes behind his bat, right? What kind of thinking goes behind making his bat. And he
Right.
spends a lot of time on his bat. So with all
Hmm.
of that understanding, we went with a form factor, a shape, a quality of a willow, all
Hmm.
those checkpoints, and
Hmm.
even the grip, what kind of grip
Hmm.
makes you, you know that comfort level comes from the grip, right? So even on
Yeah.
the grip side, we spent some time understanding all of that, and hence I think we were able to launch something which a lot of people liked very quickly.
Nice. Nice. And in this early journey, there was one more magical aspect, which was, the partnership with your co-founders, and two of them are still there today.
Yeah.
So what is it like? How did the three of you at that point, like actually the four of you first, and then come together? Like, what was it like? Like, was it like a decision y'all made, like very rationally, that yes, we all want to become entrepreneurs and we need to start together? And how did y'all decide if y'all are good for each other? Like, what really happened at that point?
Yeah. I think on the journey itself, I think everyone was just interested to see, because it's a passion project. So everyone was in it for the passion and the love for the game,
Hmm.
and just wanted to
Hmm.
see where it leads us to.
Hmm.
Rather than a lot of conviction and other things. It was just a passion project. We knew the initial investment would be in control.
Yeah.
So with all of those variables in mind, we had jumped into it.
Hmm.
But the reason to work with each other, and we've now, I think it's the sixth year of working together in an entrepreneurial setting. So
Right.
that, I think, comes from a shared value system. We
Hmm.
felt like, all three of us operated on similar value system, largely around working with other people, working with but the trust and integrity within the what do you say, within the founding team,
Hmm.
honesty. I think all of those aspects, right, the base value systems, they were intact. And
Hmm.
when we felt comfortable on those things, other things are we felt could be worked on. Like, obviously there are days when we have disagreements, so we, I mean, all those things are always there, right
Yeah.
from GR8 days to even now.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, we know that each one is taking care of the other person. And at some point I may not agree with Ajit or Ranjit, but they are looking out for me. So I
Yeah.
think that trust is important.
Hmm. Hmm. And that trust has only grown over the years.
Yeah. That trust has only. We've
Nice.
seen, like, good bad times. So and
Yeah.
everyone has stuck around
Hmm.
during those bad times and good times as well.
So another aspect I wanted you to unpack is the aspect about, like, you launching the bat on e-commerce platforms and getting sold out in the very first month. Like, how the hell did that happen? Because you are a pretty much a brand. Like, only validation signal you have until that point is you taking the bat to the playground and people noticing your bat and asking you questions, and that's a strong signal. But that's probably the only signal, or maybe you must have spoken to a few more friends and family and others. uh, but what gave you the confidence to go that big, and what really happened? How
Yeah.
did you orchestrate this?
Yeah. You know that virality and things like that are difficult to orchestrate.
Right.
What went well for us was the fact that, okay, we knew that we had something which looked very interesting, and
Hmm.
we didn't have a lot of money to spend on marketing. So what we did was, I spoke about this person who is a legendary gully cricketer. So
Right.
he had a lot of views on YouTube.
Hmm.
And when we looked at him, we felt that, if we had this person talk about us, we could get that initial jump that we need.
Hmm.
And for that, we had to convince him that we are genuinely working on something really interesting. The
Yeah.
project is interesting. The intention is good. With all of that, I think finally he was convinced. He came to Bangalore. We did a
Hmm.
series of 5 videos with him, and all of these videos and the topics were
Hmm.
largely SEO led content. I mean,
Okay.
this was out of an SEO research.
Hmm.
Research on what kind of queries do people have. And we found out that there are two sets of queries. One is, how do you pick the bat? Like, how do you know which bat is good for you? Because a lot of people play cricket and they seriously want a good bat. And there are actually, even within gully cricket, there are at least 5 to 6 different types of balls that are used
Hmm.
in different parts of the region. Like, it's not
Right.
the standard 80 grams tennis ball across India. There are
Hmm.
regions where 60 grams wala tennis ball is used. There are regions
Hmm.
in North India where 120 grams of tennis ball is used. So, and each one requires a different type of bat.
Right.
You can't use a standard similar bat and get the best output. Across these 6 types of balls that you play with. So to
Yeah.
understand all of that, we did a lot of research, and we felt that a lot of people were asking these questions. So
Mm.
with this guy's help, we created a bunch of videos that explain people how to pick the right bat,
Mm.
and second, how to hit the right shot. So
Right.
everyone, had access to content, and now they want to know, okay, how do I hit a shot which has a 360-degree angle? Like, can I send it behind the keeper? What is the
Mm.
technique? How does this guy who scores thousands of runs in gully cricket, how does he do it?
Right.
So with those topics, we created this 5 videos, and each one of them crossed, at least 3 lakh plus. That 3 lakh is the lowest one. Some of it
Yeah.
is now touching almost 1 million views,
Nice.
and we didn't spend anything like anything to boost it. It was all organic.
Mm.
So we
Mm.
just put out the content. It started, getting traction. YouTube started showing it more. It started ranking number one for the results that we were looking for. And
Right.
in no time, we got organic traffic from these videos. So
Mm.
that just kickstarted our journey. I mean, it's a
Mm.
dream start that
Mm.
anyone could ask for, and
Mm.
we had that. The first 2 months were very good, and we
Yeah.
sold out.
Hmm. So your bats became known to the world for the first time thanks to these SEO-led videos that you created, and that kept on driving traffic to the website.
Correct.
So this was a fabulous journey, and this was a story of a growing journey, wherein while there might be uh, a shit ton of competitors on the leather ball cricket side, competing from all over the world, when it came to gully cricket, when it came to tennis ball cricket, you had pretty much tapped into a niche which until then had been fully unbranded, and you were seeing the success of it. What led, what were the set of events that led to then deciding that, okay, maybe there is something else that you need to do and you need to change course again? Because when things are going great, taking a decision to change course is like a even bigger decision. You want to hold on to what's going great. So what really happened? What was that trigger point wherein you decided that this is time for us to change?
Actually, everything was not smooth sailing. So 2019 April to March 2020, we did that 1.2 crore that I was talking about. But what happened was, and we felt like we had just gotten started, and we wanted
Hmm.
to launch a lot of models. We started making some of the bats ourselves. We invested in a facility in Meerut. We
Hmm.
had workers making these bats. But unfortunately, in March 2020, pandemic stuck, right? And for the longest time, nobody stepped out of their homes, forget playing any sport, right? So we had a huge loss during that period. In fact,
Hmm.
almost, and this is during the peak season of cricket. So we had dispatched close to 3,000, 4,000 bats. They were on their way to the customers, but unfortunately, neither did it reach the customers, neither did it come back.
Hmm.
So that was a huge inventory loss. Then for 10 months, now, we did no revenue, zero revenue, because nobody
Hmm.
was buying. Things were not opening up. Supply side, there
Hmm.
was issue.
Hmm.
So all of that led to this situation where we felt like this is not going in the direction we wanted, and we were bootstrapped till then.
Right.
And so I also went and spoke to a close friend who is on the VC side.
Hmm.
Showed him the idea of GR8 and how we had done so far. I had expected
Yeah.
that he'd say that this is great, you should do it full time. I will back you, or someone else will back you, and all that.
Yeah.
But he told
Yeah.
me that hey, whatever you are doing, do it on the sidelines. Never do it full time. He said that he doesn't think. He said I don't think this will scale beyond a point. This is not a VC backable business.
Right.
So I got the point. And then we went back and started thinking hard that is there something we could do which could change the whole dynamic? Can we make, and the thoughts started going towards that direction. can we make
Hmm.
people play cricket from their living rooms? And
Hmm.
the idea was, although it's COVID period, but the idea was not just COVID. The idea was that the larger thought was that there's a huge segment or huge set of audience who do not get to play cricket now, who at one point in their lives only played cricket, dreamt cricket, lived cricket. Every Indian household has at least one cricket batter. That's the basic assumption, right? We all have
Hmm.
had at least one cricket bat. Now, we felt like this is a huge opportunity because there are thousands or there are like millions of people in India who played this sport but now don't get an opportunity because they have moved to a larger city where there is issues with physical infrastructure. Their friend circles are now all over the place. They don't have the
Hmm.
same set of friends now. Third, the work hours are so crazy that
Hmm.
the only off days you get, Saturday and Sunday, you don't want to step out. You just want to relax and stay home. So
Right.
keeping all of this in mind, we felt like there's a huge opportunity if we could make people enjoy sport from their living rooms.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
this was the genesis of Metashot. This was the journey, the first steps
Hmm.
towards that journey.
Hmm.
And yeah.
What convinced you all that, that this is not just you dreaming, that this is a real opportunity out of the desperate situation that y'all were put into because of COVID, uh, that this was indeed a genuine journey, as in, you being excited yourself about an idea, from there to you feeling convinced that this is not just something that I am excited about, but this is something which feels like a real opportunity that I want to seriously pursue. How did that, step of the journey happen?
So I think the first step is self conviction. Or am I convinced enough to talk about it to a lot of people? And we spoke about
Hmm.
it earlier also. Like startup journey is like a journey where you are collecting believers on the way, and at different
Hmm.
stages more and more people join your journey, be it investors, be it employees, be it the core founding team. So
Yeah.
so the first step is, are you convinced enough? And I strongly felt that this could work.
Hmm.
And the idea was that this should be affordable. If only we could make this affordable, this could really just take off. And that's, once that self conviction was there, the first step is seeing if there are other believers, right?
Hmm.
So started speaking to my partners, and they were immediately interested as well. They saw the
Hmm.
potential, and everyone, the thought was that, acha, can we make it? If we make it, it's a success. So at least the
Right.
idea level, they all felt like, okay, if this can be made, it could be a
Hmm.
big game changer. So that was the
Right.
first level. So, we started, okay, the three of us then started believing that, okay, let's try to at least make this and then
Hmm.
see, how it plays and all that. But it's worth experimenting. So
Right.
self conviction, and then adding the founding team, uh,
Hmm.
people who also have at least some belief that this could work.
Right.
So at that stage, what we did was, so this is the idea and validation stage, right? So at this
Yeah.
stage, what we did is, we wrote down a detailed note of how the product should work. A
Right.
very detailed note. Even today, that document is there somewhere. And although we are very different from what,
When you do an IPO, you can probably, like, print it up somewhere and put it on a wall.
the way it has shaped out is very different, but we had a thought in mind. We started detailing it out,
Yeah.
and for validation we started speaking to other people. We also spoke to the same VC friend.
Right.
In fact, we went to him little later as well, but
Hmm.
he also felt like this is an interesting thought,
Hmm.
but still not convinced. Anyway, so when what we did was, we said, let's make a prototype. Let's get to a proof of concept kind of stage. And that's where we decided, okay, we'll spend X amount of money. We'll
Hmm.
not stretch our budgets beyond it, because it should not be an endless pit of exploration and draining all your savings and all that. We had a
Yeah.
cap in mind. With that cap, we started working towards building a prototype.
Right.
And the goal was keep it bare minimum, right? We don't need to build out a whole game. We just need to see how the physical and virtual interact, and is that interaction good for a user? Are they enjoying?
Hmm.
And that was the purpose. So what we did was we got a the first version of the bat was a physical wooden bat with a
Hmm.
sensor put on it, and which could control a game, a basic game, a
Hmm.
simple game. I mean, an existing game basically.
Hmm.
And
Why an
once,
existing game?
yeah, sorry,
Why an existing game?
because building game is a different beast altogether, and the amount of money you require is
Hmm.
crazy. So we wanted to see the output on a game that could actually feels like cricket. We did not want it
Hmm.
on a stick figure, and then the audience giving like a half baked, or
Correct.
they also need help in visualization, right?
Right. Right. So you, in a way, the first ambition was to try and create a controller that looks like a cricket bat.
Correct, correct.
Hmm. And then make it interact with a cricket game which already exists,
Correct.
like some cricketing game.
Yeah, correct. So that was the first step. And once that proto was ready, we started showing it to RPG. We started
Right.
showing it to in fact, we went to the VC friend as well.
Hmm.
And when they started, interacting with it, we saw the joy that it brought. When
Hmm.
someone got a good connection,
Hmm.
the interaction and the way this to see the ball go for a boundary in the game was
Hmm.
like, they were so happy, and they would try again and
Hmm.
again, although we just had one shot that would work.
Right.
And
Right.
that was a that gave us the confidence that okay, we
Hmm.
need to
Hmm.
build it out properly. We need to the issue with a game kind of controller thing is that it cannot detect all the shots.
Right.
It is restrictive only to those few commands that you pass. It cannot
Right.
control the entire, like in real cricket, right? So
Hmm.
and if you give only few restricted shots, it's not a complete cricket experience. And
Right.
that's where we the technology, the patented technology that we worked on, that lets you actually find shots in any angle, in any direction,
Hmm.
across the field in real time.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and
Okay.
and yeah, so coming back to the point, the proof of concept prototype was ready, showed it to people. They said it's we saw the response. We understood that this is something worth pursuing, and we got
Hmm.
to the next step, which is
Hmm.
actually building the business plan, and actually looking to raise more money so that
Hmm.
we could get out a minimum viable product in the market.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So by this time, I think I've already heard you like 4 or 5 times that, oh, we went out and validated. We went out and validated. You seem like a huge believer in, like, not just having an idea, but actually taking it out there and testing it. And I wonder, about your VC friend to whom you have gone the third time, and if the reaction changed the third time, and how you persisted and you kept on going back to that VC friend until he feels convinced. So tell us like give us a glimpse into what's happening in your mind. Like, why is this process so important to you, and like, why do you keep caring about it so much?
Yeah, because sometimes we get so carried away with our own idea, and
Hmm.
you know, like that it's such a game changing product that I'm working on. You get so
Hmm.
invested, you don't take any feedbacks. You get into that hole where you keep building what you think is the right product, and
Hmm.
at the end of it, after spending so much time and money,
Hmm.
you may realize that you have drifted so away from what it should be,
Hmm.
that it's then difficult, because you would have spent money, you wouldn't get the result you want. So we
Yeah.
didn't want to make that mistake, and from the beginning, validation was key that at each stage, let's understand, okay, where do we course correct? Is giving 7 shot enough? Is giving unlimited shot more important? So at
mm,
each of those decision points, the key decision points
mm,
was led by some input from a customer, or many multiple inputs from experts. uh,
mm,
and yeah, so when I went back to the friend again the third time, he played with the bat, and he got a shot, and he was so excited. He played for 30 minutes straight trying to get another shot, and at the end of it
mm.
he was so exhausted, sweating. And then he said, boss, this is brilliant.
Mm.
And now you should quit your job and do this full time. And that was a big validation, because I like I said, he's not someone who would just say things because you are his friend. The first time
Yeah,
around, he told me, not to do anything funny and get
yeah,
keep going at work.
yeah,
So having that validation was also very important. So
yeah,
validating from customers, validating from people who have seen much more of these journeys. I think
yeah.
those things are very important in building your
Mm.
narrative, building your story, building your product, both. So the story aspect also is very important when you start talking
Mm,
to investors and all.
mm, mm,
So I
mm,
think that was important.
mm. And why did you all decide to, like, if you were pretty convinced about the product, why did you all decide initially that you're going to set aside a budget and try and function within that budget? Uh, because often it seems like, when you're excited about a idea, you start with some, yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot into it, and then it kind of ends up being something that sucks you all in. So how did y'all arrive at a very practical decision that yes, we are excited and we will explore this idea, but we'll also keep this budget as a constraint and try and work within that?
Yeah.
Like, what was the thinking that led to
So
that?
this is at the proof of concept stage, right? So at that point, we didn't even know whether this would work in the full vision and glory we had.
Hmm.
So that's why it is important that, okay, you test it for with some money. You can't raise money at that point, because you yourself are not sure whether this is a workable solution. So the
Hmm.
only money that you have is the money that you put into the business. And there again, you should be very careful that, okay, I beyond this point I won't stretch. So
Yeah.
conviction was not there. It was largely, more than conviction could be a strong word, but yeah, that, okay, we believe in the idea, but is it doable? Uh, I mean, that was yet to be proven. And
Hmm.
this money, the cap on the money was important, that within this we should be able to prove that this is workable solution.
Hmm. So if the product can be created or not was the first important decision
Yeah,
point.
yeah, especially in a new category, new innovation, right? When you are in an
Yeah.
innovative space, either you should have so much money and time that you spend enough resources to keep experimenting,
Yeah.
or you set a budget. In our
Hmm.
case, we knew that we don't have unlimited resources. So
Yeah.
within that cap, we have to make sure that we get a product, or at least a proof of concept, that at
Right.
least that this is doable.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So now your story keeps getting interesting. So you are now at this stage wherein you have managed to develop a proof of concept in physical form, and you have taken it to this, VC friend the third time, who has also given his seal of approval. In fact, that person tries to play cricket and realizes that that person is actually suspending their disbelief and getting engaged in the game and starting to sweat, and that's like a eureka moment for that person, and they are like, okay, now you have my green signal, like, this is something which can work. So now you're at this critical juncture. What happens next? Because the next step from there is a big step.
Yeah.
So what really went on? How did you all decide on the next step, and what was the next step?
So by then, you are like 100% sure that you want to do this with a lot of conviction now. And there at that point is when we started working on our deck, on
Mm.
our business plan, and we started talking to investors. And the first set of people we met were our colleagues, ex-colleagues,
Yeah.
bosses, friends. We didn't, like, we all decided not to take from relatives. Again, that aligned for all of us. We
Yeah.
kept it
Mhm.
to our friends, to our bosses and ex-bosses,
Yeah.
uh, and that there we sold the pitch. Like, we started pitching the idea with the prototype bat that was ready now.
Yeah.
And it was like a proper deck. It was not like going and
Yeah.
asking for money. It was like full business plan, what we had in our vision, the roadmap. And we started presenting it to people, and we had a very good success rate. In fact, the
Mm.
first 1 crore that we raised was largely from our friends and
Right. Right.
colleagues. And the hit rate was 90%. So it worked out really well in that
Mm.
stage. And with that
Mm.
money, we started full-fledged development of our own game, and
Mm.
full-fledged development of a working, what do you say, MVP of the bat.
Right. 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 So, so until now, you have only developed a physical bat.
Yeah,
And to develop a physical bat, if I remember correctly, your journey was that you went to the source of where most bats are produced in India, which is the city of
yeah,
Meerut. And you found, by knocking on doors of all these factories, you found someone who uh, had faith in you and gave you and decided to work with you. But that journey is a very different journey to, say, creating a hardware product, right? So tell us about this hardware product development journey, and then the software development journey, after that. But how is this different from a physical product? And, what did y'all do to make this come to life?
yeah. So it's completely. I mean, the journey was completely new for us. And
Yeah.
the first thing we did was, we tapped into our existing network, because we come from electronics backgrounds. So we had some of our friends and friends that we knew, we studied with in that
Mm.
space. So we reached out to
Mm.
them, started talking to them about this. Started giving them at least logical direction of what we envision. And with their
Mm.
help, we found people who do these kind of prototypings. They
Mm.
are experimenting with you. Obviously, you have to pay them, but
Yeah.
they keep experimenting with you. They spend time on finding the optimal solution till you arrive at
Mm.
something that you are convinced of. So we
Right.
started that journey with them, with these contacts, and that was the first steps. Where we got into building that physical product.
Yeah.
And today, luckily, the team that worked on it, the team that tested or worked on the first version, is now
Mm.
part of Metashot. I mean, they are now working for
Right.
Metashot. They are part of the core founding team with
Mm.
equity. So that was
Mm.
a very good journey. They, in fact, when they joined, also they were very skeptical, and they saw it like a
Mm.
project. Okay, let's do the project, give them what they want, and
Right.
God knows if it will work or not. But let's at least do that much. But
Mm.
as
Mm.
the milestones, we kept hitting few milestones. The
Yeah.
conviction grew in everyone around us, and
Mm.
slowly we were able to get them on board, and now they are
Mm.
an integral part of the team. So that was on the
Mm.
hardware side. Same thing with the game side. In fact, to build the first version of the game, we went to a large studio in Bangalore,
Right.
and we spent some money. We spent at least 4 months there. And at the
Mm.
end of the whole process, the output was that or the verdict was that this cannot be done.
Right.
And when it comes from a large studio,
Mm.
you know a, you are a little scared, right? Because okay,
Yeah.
if they have tried and they are saying that this cannot be done the way you are thinking,
Mm.
it's not a good signal. And
Right.
and by then what we had done was, because we had tested it on an existing game, we were pretty convinced that we'll crack
Hmm.
it. And we had raised money from our friends.
Yeah.
So now the fear had set in that what if we could never launch this product, like
Hmm.
after
Hmm.
having taken a significant amount of money.
Right.
So there were a lot of moments where we felt like oh, this may not go the whole distance.
Yeah.
And it was that that journey with the gaming team. The first gaming team was one of those points. While we had the
Hmm.
hardware team that was working really hard, and they were able to give an output which we felt is sufficient for the game to then interpret.
Right.
uh, the game team said, this is not doable. There are like a lot of challenges,
Right.
and we had lost money by then. We had also lost time.
Hmm.
And from there, luckily, like God sends different people at different times, right? So
Hmm.
we met the next partner, and this is
Hmm.
a very young startup out of Kochi, and they were also going through tough times thanks to COVID,
Hmm. Hmm.
on the verge of moving out of their business, and
Yeah.
tough times for them as well. So we reached out to them. Nothing fancy. Like I said, the earlier company was huge, whereas these guys
Yeah.
were a very small team.
Yeah.
But the founders put in a lot of time. They spent a
Hmm.
lot of time personally trying to solve the issue. Uh,
Hmm.
and they said, you start paying us only if we crack the
Right.
like if we are able to decipher the hardware signal into game. Only if we are able to do that, uh, do you pay us, right? And that
Hmm.
that led one thing led to the other,
Yeah.
and within 2 months time this team was then able to interpret the signals from the hardware and make it into
Hmm.
shots in the game, on the game side.
Right.
That was
Right.
a game changing point. And again, the same team, they are
Hmm.
now full time working with us at Metashot. They are the next set of believers that we gathered in this journey,
Hmm.
and again, part of the core founding team,
Hmm.
really close, good friends now, and working together to solve newer challenges, right? So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, it's been
Hmm.
a very rewarding journey
Nice.
to gather
Nice.
such people along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, this is another pattern which I've noticed about you, that you've collected a set of believers, and from areas that one would not always expect. For example, all the way from college, where you have friends that you could tap into to help you find connections, years later, to ex-colleagues and friends that you've made along the way, who could come on board as believers, investors, and or people just like spreading the word on your behalf, uh, to people that you took a proposition to. They saw an idea, they decided to have faith in you. So you seem to have this pattern of uh, picking up believers along the way. And what seems to be working, if because no successful or a larger business can be created without a bunch of partners and believers. And and it's important for someone who's listening to this to try and understand that, is there a method to how you've been doing this? Yes, we can always say that, yeah, you are someone who seems very trustworthy, but that would just be scratching the surface. But what's your approach like, say, especially when it came to the hardware and the software partners who turned into a part of Metashot much later? What seemed to have worked?
Yeah, I think uh, there are, especially in the hardware and software with those guys. I think it's important to set smaller milestones, smaller goals, and as a leader, all three of us showing the way that these goals are achievable. These goals
Hmm.
are building that trust with the team. You know
Right.
that trust has to be done in small steps, right?
Hmm.
From complete strangers to being blindly able to say, if Prince is saying this, then I'm okay with it type. So
mm.
or if Ranjit is saying or Ajit is saying, we are okay with that. So to
Yeah.
get to that stage, I think there are a lot of mini milestones where you have to prove yourself that, hey,
Right.
listen, I told you this, I am able to do this at this stage.
Mm,
I told you why,
mm,
I'll do that for you. So
mm,
when that happens, when they see results at
mm,
those critical milestones, they start, having that belief that, okay,
mm,
this person is, at least he's leading us to a path where we know that he will never betray us. I mean, you need to have those kind of signals being sent, and I think it's not just signal; it genuinely comes or doesn't come. I mean,
right.
it's sometimes as simple as that. So, if you have
Mm,
the right interests in mind, and if you are growing, making sure that others with you are growing, if that
mm,
mindset is there, I think then people don't mind putting that extra effort, extra or whatever the money that
mm,
they have, or
mm,
placing the trust, or doing things for you. I think
mm.
it's important that you send out those signals.
And did you not have to bend over backwards to, or make a lot of big promises for them to feel like, they should join you in any way?
No, no, no. I think that doesn't work also, because see, even you yourself are sometimes not clear, and there are, like, it's also something that I learned. Or all three of us learned along the way is that when you start promising, don't promise something which is like 5, 10. Like I've seen many times, founders say that we'll be IPO, and then at that IPO stage you will be a billionaire or millionaire.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's great to say that. Some people like that approach, and we also did that a couple of times early in our journeys. But we
Mm,
quickly realized that we ourselves are not able to control the next couple of years ahead of us.
right.
And
Right.
once they see that okay, you promised me X, and the next year you are going back on your promise, it doesn't
Mm,
send a good signal.
mm,
So I mean, that
mm,
is something we have learned, that don't overpromise. Instead, have smaller, believable milestones and grow.
mm.
Like, keep the pace of growth steady instead of
Correct.
one random spike, or asking them to expect one random big spike,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Instead of that, maybe have many multiple small steps that you are taking together,
right.
which builds trust. So we tried the other approach; it didn't work for us. We moved to
Right.
this approach, where we now very clearly try to outline that what is
Mm,
doable and what is in our control for the next 1.5 year. If
yeah.
if that is agreeable to you, you should definitely join us. Otherwise,
Right.
maybe there are better options for you. Maybe you can find
Yeah.
something better. Yeah, and we don't have any hard feelings on that, right? It's
Yeah.
understandable. Everyone has their personal milestones and journeys, and
Correct.
you should do only what you can do.
Yeah.
Uh, and at that same, if it aligns with the other person, they would definitely be with you if your
Yeah.
intentions are good.
Mm,
So I
mm.
think it's important to keep
Nice.
those smaller milestones. I mean, that is
Mm,
our learning. Some
mm.
people have a different way of dealing with these things.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So now let's talk about the next stage, because how long did it take you from, say, a prototype to a minimum viable product, and what was the point wherein you decided that, okay, now it's time to move to the next stage? Like, what was the signal which ultimately led to moving on?
It took us, almost another year before
Mm,
we felt like, okay, we had something which is, which can be put out in the market. And the
right.
key thing there was a breakthrough that we got on the game side,
Mm,
which let users play like real cricket, like unlimited shots. Until then,
mm,
we were, thinking of launching the product with 7 shots. You could play
right.
7 shots, the 7 most played cricketing shots. But somewhere we all felt like, something is missing here. Cricket is not
Yeah.
7 shots.
Yeah.
Everyone will ask us the same question, and we were trying really hard to get a breakthrough, but we thought, something had to be put out. At least let's learn it from the customers.
Yeah.
Once we sell it, key 7 shots
Mm,
mein what are the issues they are facing, and what is the feedback that we are getting. But we were not convinced ourselves. And we
Hmm.
kept trying on the background on how to crack this. And
Right.
Arun, who leads the game team, about whom I spoke earlier, he had
Hmm.
this breakthrough in March 2023.
Hmm.
And the first time we experienced that full range,
Hmm.
that is when we, got the confidence that, okay, this is something which is very interesting. This is something which is a game changer. And we showed it to, again, went to the customer, showed it to them, and all of
Hmm.
them loved the whole idea, or the new ability to play
Hmm.
anything at all, right? So
Hmm.
that was the point at which we said, okay, now let's gear up on the marketing side. Let's launch the website. Let's start taking pre-booking orders. Let's get to
Right.
that marketing overdrive.
Right, right. And what about the manufacturing side of a hardware product? Because a physical bat versus a hardware bat with sensors, and I don't know what all gadgets are there inside your bat, but these two are very different things. So, how was that journey?
Yeah. So on that side, so we split our roles very interestingly. So I mean, Ajit and Ranjit took care of the hardware and the new product prototype and everything else, while I was largely looking into gaming. Why, and the other thing was that all three of us were looking into each other's domains as well, especially in
Yeah.
the initial stages. So Ranjit and Ajit spent a lot of time on the hardware side, setting up a process, setting up a production line, talking to multiple vendors, making sure that if we got that one prototype bat right, from
Hmm.
that one prototype bat, how can we make 100 bats at a manufacturing level? So to
Right.
get to that scale, I mean, there was a steep learning curve for them as well, and
Hmm.
lot of managing, lot of vendors. Most of the things are procured in India, except for one
Hmm.
or two items that India doesn't have manufacturing capacity yet.
Hmm.
We decided not to do this in China. We decided to make in India, uh,
Right.
and in Bangalore. So we
Hmm.
found the right partner here, worked with them, on sourcing these components, assembling, learning the whole assembly process, and there were
Hmm.
multiple failure points. Correcting those one by one, and then slowly getting the confidence to, at least, like I said, when we got that game breakthrough, we said, okay,
Hmm.
now let's put the product out there, let's see the demand, and basis demand, let's plan the production again.
Right.
So again, that was like a good 1 year journey where, a lot of mistakes, lot of learning, because again, none of us came from that manufacturing background, so
Hmm.
we had to
Hmm.
learn this very quickly on the job.
Hmm. Hmm.
But at all these points, we got the right partners. Like,
Hmm.
for example, the cost of making the mold is insanely expensive for a startup, right?
Right. Right.
So we got someone who made sure that we launched the product, and
Hmm.
the mold cost he had amortized over multiple or many months instead of taking it
Hmm.
upfront. So we got those kind of partners who helped us a lot in the journey, both hardware and
Hmm.
software.
Hmm. 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 And the last question I wanted to ask you about the hardware product was also the form factor, because it's the physical experience that you have created is slightly different from what people are used to seeing as a bat. So what was that thinking like, and how did you make the decisions that you had to make as far as the form factor of the bat is concerned?
So whenever we tested the bat, what we realized is the feel of the bat comes from the grip or the handle,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
that handle, we realized, cannot be compromised. The length of the handle cannot be compromised. It has to be
Hmm.
exactly the same length as a proper cricket bat. Otherwise, if you're
Right.
holding it too close, if you're holding it like too wide,
Hmm.
it doesn't give you that feel. You don't hold cricket bat like these, or like this, or like this.
Right.
So that feel had to be right. So the
Hmm.
diameter of the handle, everything. So we
Hmm.
made sure that worked, and this came out of an ID research. So There was a proper research conducted. We tried to understand the flat sizes across various metros, in our TG.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we realized we are not making for villas, we are making for flats. And there
Right.
are objects around you in the living room. So how
Yeah.
do you have a proper swing without the bat hitting things around you? So we
Hmm.
decided to make the bat size smaller. The
Hmm.
whole size is 10 inch smaller than a regular cricket bat.
Right.
But the length of the handle was exactly the same as the adult cricket handle,
Right.
and
Right.
that made a big difference. And
So that you figured out was the non-negotiable,
yeah,
because that's where the hand comes in contact with the
yeah,
product, and if that feels exactly like a cricket
yeah,
bat, even if the full length of the cricket bat is slightly shorter, it does not make a difference as long as the handle has
correct,
exactly the
correct,
same
correct,
feel. Okay, that's
correct.
interesting. That's a big one, actually.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it we spent a lot of time iterating different designs. In fact, the
Hmm.
first bat, we thought, what if we make it wooden to give that real feel of cricket bat? But
Right.
then we realized that it's not practical.
Hmm.
Imagine swinging the bat in full force and
Hmm.
someone just casually walking by. The wooden bat will break open their skulls, if you swing with that force. So we had to, then started thinking along those lines, started making changes, got that optimal size.
Right.
And yeah, and then it went into that production line, got into that streamlined process.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, all this, the hardware is very capital intensive, like it's a capital intensive business. The
Right.
development cycles are longer,
Hmm.
and there are supply chain complexities which you have to
Hmm.
deal with. So all these three factors, right, combined, I mean, we never we learned it, like, when it happened to us.
Right.
And luckily, everything came together in the month of August 2023.
Hmm.
That's when we launched in Bangalore. That was the
Hmm.
first launch.
Hmm.
And
And don't tell me your product went viral the moment you launched it, because that's just not possible.
I mean, exactly what happened. And this is
Oh
something
shit.
which came up on the Shark Tank episode also, that the first video we put out got 15 million views, 1 5,
Wow.
and 60 million on YouTube.
Hmm.
And and like the video went out, and for the next within the next week or so, we were sold out for 2 months. I mean, we built only that much inventory, anticipating a certain
Right.
demand, and all of
Right.
those got goods sold out in just 7 days flat. So within 10 days, we sold out, 7 to 10 days, we sold out the entire lot that we had made, anticipating a 2 month, forecasting.
Hmm.
And that was again a very early indicator that this could do well. And and in fact, Ajit was in a Ayurveda retreat center healing from a back injury, and we
Right.
had put out his number on the video,
Right.
and the phone didn't stop ringing for the next, at least the next 3 4 days continuously. He would switch off for the session and switch on again after 30 minutes, and 100 calls would have piled up by then.
My
And
goodness.
the same thing on DMs. We were getting DMs by the second. Like, and
Hmm.
what we did was we split the responsibilities. We were working overtime. All of us had shifts, and 24
Yeah.
hours we were responding to the queries. Trying to send links where they could buy the bat and all of that. This was all on our website. We hadn't
Right.
started any marketplace. It was only on our website.
Hmm. So you started with a D2D, D2C
Yeah.
launch, and the 2 month forecast that you have, how much was the quantity that you all had forecasted?
We had thought we'll sell 1,000 bats in 2 months.
Right.
We
Right.
sold that in the
And
first month itself. And then we had
awesome.
to shut down the website, showing inventory sold out, stopped all marketing. And for
Right.
10 to 15 days, we were just working on again building the inventory.
Mm.
Because again, like supply chain complexities are there, right? When
Right.
you need to plan at least like 15-20 days in advance to make sure you have everything
Mm.
in place for the day, right?
Mm.
But with such a short span, we had to again quickly turn around, get all our partners to work harder,
Mm.
so that we don't have that longer delay. You don't
Right.
want the hype cycle to go
Right.
before you,
Right.
because you didn't have inventory.
Mm.
So that we didn't want to miss that. But the good thing is we could relaunch within 10 to 12 days
Right.
of getting stocked out. And then
Right.
after that, we never had that issue. We are planning improved. Obviously, that was the first month, so nobody anticipated that demand.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, we've never had a situation where we were out of inventory.
And what witchcraft did you do in that video for it to hit 15 millions? Like the first video, once again, to hit 15 million, and to make your product get sold out once again.
So we worked with a nano influencer actually,
Right.
and the the idea was that can we leverage their reach, and we felt instead of intervening, or instead of doing giving them lot of like brand related plugs, let them create their content, but the
Right.
insight would come from us,
Hmm.
because we knew our customers better. So we wanted them to work on a specific insight, like
Hmm.
and by specific, it's not like okay, gifting. We wanted more than that. We said that this is a cricket crazy husband who's always playing cricket at home, try like
Right.
doing this air cricket gestures, because
Yeah.
now he doesn't have friends, doesn't have grounds to play or time to
Yeah.
play. So he's always, but
Yeah.
always imagining cricket being played somewhere in his head.
Yeah.
So we want some story around that, and we
Hmm.
want nice, a concerned wife gifting this to a husband who is crazy about cricket. So
Yeah.
that was the brief to the
Right.
agent, not to the agency. Actually, we always work directly with the influencers most of the times,
Right.
and that output was very good. We never asked them to put any plugs. We didn't say that from the first second of the video you should say Metashot.
Yeah.
We felt like if the emotional gaps are getting filled, like if you are able to identify an insight which fills some form of emotional gap, the
Yeah.
storytelling could be very interesting. And
Hmm.
influencers are really good. I mean, some of them that we worked with, they did an outstanding job of taking that insight into a end product.
Hmm.
And
Hmm. Hmm.
that's the result we saw.
Hmm.
In fact,
Hmm.
the second month there was another video which touched 70 million.
Right.
And consistently we have clocked like 1 million plus. Even today, we clock 1 million plus every now and then. In fact, some of these content creators have had their best videos with us, like in terms
Oh,
of
okay.
views. So
Hmm. Hmm.
imagine, like usually a brand video doesn't get you that reach. So
Correct.
influencers are also very skeptical of doing a lot of brand videos because the organic reach is curtailed to a large extent, right?
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
But in this case, there are two influencers, at least 2 to 3 influencers we know, for whom their highest view count has come from a video they did on with Metashot.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so I think that way we were lucky, and to be working with the right set of people.
and and maybe that formula actually makes a lot of sense because in my experience, and I'm sure you would have seen this as well in your career previously, that when you get too prescriptive with influencers, you try and you actually restrict their creativity so much
Yeah,
that ultimately it looks very staged
yeah,
and hard to believe,
yeah,
and therefore the content doesn't come out as well.
yeah.
Yeah, makes
So
sense. So, what was the next plot point in this journey? So, you've gone D2C, you had a brilliant start, and then you realized that, okay, the product has, reasonable demand. It's like a PMF kind of a signal that you got from the market.
yeah,
And post that, what was the next plot point, like next moment of aha that made you realize that okay, we seem to be on the right path and we need to take bigger strides?
So, post the launch, there were multiple good signals. Like, there were a lot of feedbacks on the product, like from users who were genuinely happy that something like this has come out, but at
Right.
the same time felt we could do much better. So they wrote like detailed feedback. Like there would be
Mm,
uh, feedback running into like several messages on DM, or
right.
an email length that could be 1,000 word plus. So if someone is
Nice.
putting that much of an effort to write a feedback for you, it shows
Yeah.
how much they care about that product. And they are not, and these are not your friends or family. These are people who paid
Right.
money and
Yeah.
are writing reviews for you. So we
Mm,
started picking up those inputs. We started working on them. We started creating a sheet where we started marking them as per criticality. And
mm,
by February or March, we had a major change. March of 2024, we had a major change in the way the product looks. I mean, we upgraded the graphics from the graphics that we had launched it with. Again,
mm,
basis multiple feedbacks that we got, and
mm,
that showed a great spike in numbers. We saw good retention. Time spent in
mm.
the game was good, uh, and that gave us the confidence to now step out of D2C to marketplaces.
Right.
And the first step was we worked with. In fact, even before we could get into a formal discussion, both Amazon and Flipkart had reached out to us saying that
Mm,
why don't you exclusively list with us.
right.
Both their teams found us out through viral videos. They said, you have to start with us. I mean, both were vying for that first start on their platform.
Nice.
And that was a good position to be in, because
Yeah.
we got a lot of, uh, you know, a lot of perks of being in a different kind of model that we operated with. So we were not listing like regular sellers. We were
Right.
working with their category team. We were working with
Right.
the electronics team at Amazon and Flipkart. And because of that, the level of insights we got, the support we got in FBA, or in inventory management and keywords in
Yeah.
marketing, all of that, it was unparalleled. I mean, and because of that, we had a very good launch in the month
Mm,
of April with Flipkart, and by
mm.
August of 2024, we were also live on Amazon. And
Right.
today, both of them contribute to a large part of our sales, monthly sales.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
that was a big
And
jump.
and if I remember right, you had a successful launch on both these platforms as well, wherein you managed to, manage pretty impressive feats. So, can you tell us how you orchestrated that initial, and what really happens and why is it so critical, and how did you manage that initial phase on the platforms?
Yeah. I think again the role of SEO in all of this, the role of product listing with the right keywords, finding the right categories. I think that you starts with there. If you have
Hmm.
all of that sorted, then you need to start building your content in such a way that your when someone is searching for a particular keyword, be it your brand keyword or be it your generic keyword, which could lead to a potential interest in your product. I mean, it's
Hmm.
important to give those cues via videos, via influencer content, so that there
Hmm.
is more and more search happening around those keywords on
Right.
those platforms, and you are ranking on top for those keywords then.
Right.
So
Right.
because
Right.
then it starts a cycle, right, which wherein if like I mean, in Metashot's case, it's little easier because it's very unique and it's one of its kind. But
Yeah.
in a category where there are, let's say, like cricket bats, there are hundreds of manufacturers putting out hundreds of bats, right?
Yeah.
So how do you, as a bat manufacturer, stand out?
Yeah.
So in GR8's journey, I think we learned that lesson of really
Mm,
being able to start that virtuous cycle of getting discovered, ultimately leading to more discovery and leading to more sales.
mm,
So
mm,
so that cycle was well managed, especially on GR8 side. Here we had an
mm.
advantage that there was nobody like us. So people would either search with the keyword Metashot, or they will search with keywords like smart bat,
Mm.
uh, or like a mixed reality bat or things like that. So it
Right.
was then easier to manage on Metashot.
Mm,
But in a
mm,
tough
mm.
category like cosmetics or like cricket bats and other places, you have to get that cycle going. You need that push.
Right.
Otherwise, out of
Right.
thousands of listings, it's very difficult for someone to discover you.
Mm, mm. And was it a conscious choice to wait for some time to look at all the feedback that you were getting through the D2C route initially?
Absolutely.
Uh, okay.
Because the volumes are different, right? When you go into
Mm,
marketplaces, you expect a different volume explosion. So
okay.
at that volume you cannot go with a product which has like lot of, like, there's still a lot of work pending, right? So we wanted to get to a stage. We still know that there is a lot of work pending, and we are
Yeah.
constantly trying to improve.
Mm,
But to take that call, we needed to be confident on certain aspects,
mm.
especially on the game side, on the hardware side, and secondly on the hardware side. And once we got those signals, once we hit those small mini milestones within the
Right.
product journey, we felt comfortable to launch on a marketplace.
Mm,
Because there
mm,
also
mm.
the other thing is ratings decide how you sell later.
Right.
And we were very sure that we cannot put a product where people start rating it negatively, and then it goes into that cycle where
Yeah.
sales drop, right? Luckily, as
Yeah.
of today, we are 4.7 on Amazon
Mm.
after almost close to 1,000 reviews, and
Nice.
4.2 plus, I think, on Flipkart as well.
Nice.
So we've done fairly well on that aspect. And
Yeah.
but yeah, again, there are, like, people writing in with lot of inputs, lot of feedback, and we spend a lot of time on those feedbacks, constantly
Mm,
trying to improve.
mm, mm. Nice. So now let's come to the most important part about the story, which is, all of this journey was going on, and the next thing one sees is that you're suddenly appearing on Shark Tank, and at the same time you're announcing about a big round, of investment that you all have raised. So what happened suddenly?
So I think actually the Shark Tank could have happened a year earlier, but we
Right.
chose not to go at that point because we, again, the same thing, that we were not confident of the product. We felt like there is a lot more improvements to be done, and we
Hmm.
wanted to go on a with a strong footing, and not go on back foot there. So that's why it took longer. Again, when the scouting for this season started,
Hmm.
in fact, we were lucky that the Sony team had identified us and requested us to participate this year. And
Right.
we entered the whole thing. We went through multiple rounds of interview, pitch, and then
Yeah.
finally got through, and presented on Sony TV, on Sony Live, on
Hmm.
29th of January. I mean, it aired on 29th of January. And
Yeah.
I mean, that process was very interesting.
Hmm.
We felt it gave us the right platform to showcase our product to a larger audience.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to miss that opportunity this year. Uh,
Hmm.
and the good thing was, even before that, marketplace had started doing well, and we had good monthly revenue. So we already had a term sheet
Right.
with us when we went into the Shark Tank, and
Right.
from a very good bunch of VCs. Um,
Hmm.
and with the Shark Tank episode. what happened is we got funding from there as well. In fact,
Right.
we got double of what we had asked originally.
Hmm.
Uh,
Oh, okay.
and then then it was about deciding how do we plan these two important events. How do
Yeah.
we plan this announcement? Do we do it staggered? We don't have a lot of money to spend on these kind of PR events, right? So
Yeah.
we felt like if we do it staggered, there's a chance that neither of them will get noticed.
Hmm.
Like, or a very few people will notice this, and they may skip it, and the next news will come much later, and they will not link it to the first news.
Right.
So we felt if we could combine the two and
Hmm.
create a sustained momentum for 2 weeks, the
Hmm.
reinforcement will be so good. We have the concept of frequency in media, right?
Ah.
I mean, the frequency would be at least two to three,
Yeah.
because you saw one article on that, one article on this news, and then there are a bunch of people, well wishers, who are posting constantly on LinkedIn. Uh,
Hmm.
so the chances are the right stakeholders will see you at least thrice if we do it in a
Hmm.
burst, and thrice in a very short span.
Right. So you actually orchestrated the timing of the funding announcement.
Yes,
Is that what you're saying?
yes, we orchestrated.
Okay. So you could not move the timing of the Shark Tank episode
Yeah.
release,
So that was
but
the
you could
constant.
control.
That was the
That was the
constant.
constant.
Yeah.
Okay. So the variable, the thing that you could move was the date on which you announced the funding round.
Exactly. The larger round, the day we could announce the larger round. So we
Okay. And what exactly did you do? What came first? Because in my head, these two things seem to happen at the same time. So what really was going on?
yeah, I think that was the intended objective. So I think we did
Yeah.
well on that. So first, the funding announcement came,
Right.
because the episode was airing on a Friday, if I'm not wrong.
Hmm.
And Fridays are usually not good for press releases.
Correct.
So again, Monday, Tuesday also is not considered that great. So we had our
Right.
release on the larger fundraise go out on a Wednesday,
Hmm.
and the media had started picking up by Thursday. A lot of good media had already picked it up,
Right.
because the VCs, the quality of VCs that we had for this round was very good. So the
Right.
general interest was very high. So
Yeah.
that release had a mention
Hmm.
of the upcoming Shark Tank episode. So
Hmm.
when someone read it, they would say, okay, they are also going to get featured in the up. And by then, Sony had already done a lot of promotion about Metashot in the
Right.
trailers as the three most anticipated pitches of this season. So there
Right.
were a lot of, like, even in the main trailer, we are featured very ahead.
Yeah.
So all of that, led to this, what do you say, this hype cycle. And the
Hmm.
first article was about the larger fundraise, which briefly mentioned about the Shark Tank episode.
Right.
So when the Shark Tank thing happened, in the Shark Tank episode, you could see that there is a mention of the fundraise that
Right.
was already done. And then when the articles came out, it mentioned that okay, this company which aired on Shark Tank has also raised funds from Sauce and Sharp. So
Right.
it was all like linked, like it was a loop.
Right. Right.
And that
Right.
loop, along with like I said, sustained coverage from media outlets, like internet media outlets, like there are a lot of
Yeah.
Instagram content, startup stories, startup content, all of
Yeah.
those guys started featuring it, and the cycle kept going. I mean, there
Right.
was a lot of visibility,
Yeah.
um, and people started recognizing Metashot, and we've
Hmm.
seen interest from good VCs now. We've seen interest from and obviously the sales also has gone up
Yeah.
after the episode. So
Yeah.
so overall, I think the impact was very good from both
Yeah.
customer perspective and from relationship perspectives, the future
Hmm.
relationship perspectives.
Hmm. Awesome. Awesome. So this is a fabulous journey that you took us through, and I think a whole bunch of very interesting lessons, that you shared with us that you've learned along the way. Before we kind of summarize what we've been discussing. Uh, what do you see happening next? Like, what's next for Metashot?
One of the key things we are envisioning, or the way we want to take this company ahead, is being able to make it, a console for the masses, like not just cricket, but other sports as well. And to get to that journey is a long process, but we are taking those many steps. There'll be some announcements later in this year around some of the key new launches that we are working on.
Hmm.
So I think it'll be a very interesting journey from here on.
Hmm.
We've been able to prove ourselves on cricket, and cricket is still a large untapped space. We've just barely scratched the surface of the potential of cricket, and
Right.
there's a long way to go on
Yeah.
that journey. But the full cycle will be complete if we are able to give multiple product or multiple sport experiences from a single product. And we
Yeah.
are on that journey. We are working towards hitting that goal very soon.
Hmm. Hmm. That's lovely. Uh, we spoke about a lot of high points along the way, and sometimes it's kind of you know myopic to think that the journey is like full of roses. I'm sure there were tough moments that all of you encountered. All you co-founders encountered and had to overcome together. So, if I were to ask you about some of the lowest points that you all had in this journey, what were those biggest lowest points, and how did you all manage to get past them, get through them?
Yeah, I mean, especially after we took the round from the friends and family. Uh, I mean, post that round, there was no
Yeah.
going back, right?
Mm.
Because you have to at least put the product out in the market, and then at least we've done our part, and then there are a lot of variables, and everyone understands that, right?
Yeah.
uh, but not being able to put out a product was a scary thought. and
Hmm.
and we felt at certain stages, like I was talking about the large studio that said this cannot be done. It's
Yeah.
not been done yet, and it cannot be done, we cannot do it. So those points were very, like, I mean, really tough times, because you suddenly start questioning everything that you have done till now, and you doubt the future,
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
it's a dark space to be in. When
Yeah.
But the good thing is, on all of this, there, because the partners were so strong, and they were I mean, they're bunch of mature people
Yeah.
working on this, right? So the support that each one could lend to the other through
Hmm.
these tough times, I think because of that we kept going. And when you're
Hmm.
persistent and you keep at it for some time, the luck starts favoring you here and there.
Hmm.
And that happened. We
Hmm.
found a team out of nowhere, a team that was about to shut down, a team
Hmm.
from a city that is not known for gaming in
Right.
India.
Yeah.
So all of that just worked out well,
Yeah.
and then came together into this completion. But yeah, I mean, those 3 to 4 months, there was no output. We had spent a lot of money by then, and
Yeah.
we were wondering if we should stop spending and return the money that is left,
Yeah.
before burning it all. So there were a
Right.
lot of tough choices at that point to be made.
Hmm. 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 Yes. And how glad is everyone that you decided to continue? Especially me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just briefly mentioned, but Rahul is an investor and one of the early backers of Metashot. So,
Yes.
and with full confidence, like, Acha, you take this money, we'll figure out what to do later. But, you take the money, do what you're doing, and I completely believe you. So,
Yeah.
when someone gives you that kind of trust, you really want to make sure you live up to at least that bare minimum promise of putting the vision out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thanks for your support, Rahul, during those times as well. And we spoke also many times.
Yeah.
during that period.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I also mentioned that kya kare, should I give you some of it back? I think there were some discussions like that, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you,
Which is why I'm so glad that you decided to, because ultimately the choice is yours.
yeah,
If you decide to raise your hands and decide that, okay, this is not something that you want to pursue anymore, then there is no one who can force you to do
yeah,
that. But you decided to follow through, and it's a totally different story.
yeah,
So that's wonderful. So
yeah.
thanks a ton.
I mean, not just me, but the three of us, right? Like I was saying, each one was supporting the other.
Yeah.
So it was like I mean, it wouldn't have happened if any of us would have, wavered. Like,
Hmm.
at some point, someone was always strong. So,
Yeah.
so that kept us going.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And good support, like I said, no, the believers you collect on your journey, I mean, they should be like real believers, and not
Right.
turn, at the first instance of a trouble, right? So
Yeah.
uh, I mean, until then we had like really good set of backers. So
Right. Nice. So I'll try and summarize, some of the key lessons that I picked up from your journey. And I think the biggest one for me, at least, is, and also as I work with a lot of founders, I see this issue that there is always you know, um, there is always this discomfort towards going out and validating your thoughts and your concepts and your initial ideas, and then your prototypes, and then your MVPs, and then your business concepts and your business plan and everything, right? And I'm glad that you mentioned about the number of times and for the number of different things. And and even though annoying, the number of times you went back to the same person whose opinion you value, uh, and how important it is to keep validating and keep validating again and again. The second big learning for me was the aspect about how you can't build something great single-handedly. You need a whole bunch of partners, and the route that you guys decided to utilize for picking up partners and believers along the way was a very realistic, let's not make hyperbole promises or unrealistic kind of show dreams, but let's make real, genuine, realistic short-term problems promises, deliver on those expectations, and take the relationship uh, with trust one step ahead at a time. And that has resulted in you having worked with partners who are now a part of Metashot, and who are probably going to be with you for the longest period of time. So that was something interesting. Another thing which I picked up from your journey was the fact that yes, everyone gets excited about their ideas, but you all also decided to be very practical. And I don't know if this is Ajit all over written over it, but you decided to budget for it and be realistic about it, and be like, let's give it our best, let's try and make this work, but also be real and set this amount of funding. Otherwise there's no end to trying to chase an idea and trying to see if that idea makes any sense or not. So that was something quite interesting. Um, Something else which I found was quite exciting was how you managed the different parts. Because when you're working on a product which has a hardware side as well as a software side, the nuances on the two sides are very different, and therefore the cycle of learning and iterating and then taking it back into the market is also very different. On the software side, it's something which has been well documented, and it's significantly faster, as opposed to on the hardware side, where the investments as well as the time lags, as well as the supply constraints can be very different. So that's something which y'all decided to get into deeply into and try and understand more, and try and understand the different nuances between the two, so that you can have better control over both the sides of the business. So that was quite interesting. And I think what seems like the next lesson is something which seems like witchcraft to the world, which is like, every time you put out videos, they seem to go viral, is actually a little bit of a method to the madness, wherein you are giving liberty to these content creators. You're allowing them to bring their creativity to life. You're also trying to, work with some of the basic fundamentals around what is it that people really care about when it comes to this sport, and they would want to some genuine human insights. So these are some of the things which I definitely picked up. I don't know if there is something which I should call out at the end, or you want to call out for our audience at the end as well, that some other things that you think should be kept in mind for someone who decides to go down a similar journey, or a journey which is along these lines as well. So, on that note, Prince, thank you so much. Lovely to have you as a part of the show. This is such a, fulfilling journey. Even watching this journey happen is so fulfilling. So, I can imagine, despite all the hard work that you're putting in, it must be a very fulfilling journey for all of you. So, my best wishes to you personally, to the founders, collectively, to every employee at Metashot who's putting in their blood, sweat, and tears into the building of this amazing organization that's happening. So more power to all of you, and wish you guys a lot of success.
Thank you, Rahul.